Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. So I'm out here at the local archery club getting my bow dialed in for a trip out to Colorado to hunt antelope here at the end of next week. And my goal for tonight is to make sure my broadheads are sighted in at yardages past 80 yards. So when you're out there hunting these antelope, you don't expect to be getting real close. This is spot and stalk, open country. Went out there 4 years ago, and if you got within 60 yards, you were doing really good. Need to be prepared to shoot out to 100, if not a little further, if you're capable and comfortable with that. And so it takes a long time to really build that confidence and fine-tune a setup to the point where you can shoot those distances with broadheads with any level of accuracy and confidence. So that's what I'm trying to do, is find my effective range, basically, with broadheads. So I've been shooting my bow now for the last several weeks. Got it shooting really consistently with field points. The broadheads are shooting equally good. However, once you get out past 60 yards or so with broadheads, you're going to start to see more drag, and the arrow will start to drop faster than it will with your field points. So it's incredibly important to spend the time to figure out what your sight marks are out past 60 yards, because you can't just sight it in with field points and expect your broadheads to hit the same. So over the last couple weeks, I really spent a lot of time fine-tuning my 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 yard pin. And then beyond that, I've got my bottom pin. I've got a 5-pin set up here with this B3 Exact Links hunting sight. Got a 5-pin, so 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And then they use the bottom pin as my mover. And I've got sight marks out to 120 yards if I'm able to get that much clearance underneath the scope with the arrow. So that's the goal, is to really see how far I can push that limit. Right now, I just shot 2 arrows at 80 yards with broadheads, and they're in the 11 ring on the Reinhardt antelope target. I'd say we're good at 80. We're going to keep pushing it back a little further to see how far we can go. Last night I was shooting 6-inch groups at 100 yards with field points. My goal is to shoot 6-inch groups at 100 yards with the broadheads, and we'll see if we can make that happen. So let's take a walk down here and look at these 2 arrows at 80, and give you guys an idea how good this bow's shooting. So my current setup is a Matthews Lift 29.5, 27-inch draw length, 72 pounds. I'm shooting a 385 grain arrow. It's an Ultra 204, cut to 26 inches with the half outs, which only weigh 25 grains, 100 grain broadhead. And then I've got 3 Flex Pro 2.5 beans and a Go Tip Nock, 204 Nock. And so that whole arrow weighs 385 grains. Out of that bow at 72 pounds, shooting 299 feet per second. That's pretty dang fast, no matter how you slice it, at 27-inch draw length. So here, there's my 2 shots at 80 yards, both in the 11 ring, both with a broadhead. So that tells me we're good to go out to 80. All right, so we just backed up to 90 yards. Gonna take a couple more shots and see where they hit. Like I said, I've got my mover to where that bottom pin, I can dial it down to the different yardages, and I'm using the laser sight scale from B3 to fine tune that spread. I started out, I thought I needed a number 4, and I found out that the broadheads were carrying better than I thought out past 80. So I had to switch. I now am to a number 2. So I'm trying to verify, is it a 2 or a 3? Last night I shot the 3, was still hitting a little bit high. Switched over to the 2. We'll see how it hits tonight. But I think, after what I've seen so far, I think we're going to be right on the money. Hit the target. Looks like that one's just a touch low. I mean, just below the 10 range. So it may end up needing to go back to the 3. Couple good shots. Both of them felt pretty good. That one's right in the middle. I mean, dead center. I did bobble a little bit, but this pin fired right in the middle, and that's where it hit at 90 yards with the broadhead. Third shot. Different broadhead. Can't tell exactly where that one hit. The arrows are white and the target's white. But we'll walk down there and see. 90 yards is a long way to walk, but gives you time to think about stuff. So, like I said before, if you think you're just going to pick your bow up and shoot your normal hunting setup and then go out and expect it to shoot as good at 80 yards as it does at 40 yards, you're sadly mistaken. It takes a lot of work. You really have to fine tune everything to get that level of accuracy with your hunting bow at those distances. And I even can tell a big difference between 80 and say 95 yards from what I can group and how consistent I can shoot at 80. Going back to 95, everything starts to really open up. Every little bit of movement is super critical, and you can really see the effects of that downrange. So, if you're thinking about going out west to hunt antelope or anything that's going to require you to shoot long distances, consider that. Make sure you spend plenty of time dialing in your setup and getting everything as perfect as it can be, and then figure out what your effective range is, because what my effective range is won't be the same for you, and so on and so forth. So you got to learn what your limitations are, what you're comfortable with, and what your bow can do. That's the bottom line. So first shot was a little bit low, and then the last two shots right here, both the same height, right at the bottom of the 11. All 3 shots were broadheads. All 3 shots at 90 yards. All 3 shots would have killed that animal very ethically. And so hopefully they'll stand still whenever you get that shot. And that's one of the things I learned the last time I went out to Colorado and hunted antelope, the same style. was that it seemed like if you got too close, let's say you were inside 60 yards and they knew you were there, or they saw something before you took your shot, they could easily just step out of the way or duck the arrow in reaction to you shooting at them. Whereas if you can sneak into within 80 yards or 100 yards and them not know you're there, less likely that they're going to spook when you shoot and move out of the way of your arrow before it gets there. So that's the thought anyway. I mean, it's still a live animal. They still are very quick and react to everything in their environment, and so you got to do the best you can. You got to expect to go out there and miss a few times. I certainly did on my last trip. So trying to narrow that gap a little bit on the second trip out there and see if we can't be a little bit more prepared than we were the last time. We're now at 100 yards, which is a long way with no scope. Just shooting a 10,000ths fiber pin, which covers up most of the midsection of the animal at that distance. Luckily, this bow holds incredibly well. I've got the bridge lock stabilizer on the front, got the 15-inch with 2 ounces of additional weight on the front bar, and then I've got the 10-inch bridge lock bar on the back with 5 ounces of additional weight on it. And let me tell you, this bow aims as good as my target setup, and that's no exaggeration. But one thing you don't want to do is forget to dial your sight. Let's run that baby down to 100. One thing I like about this sight scale from B3 is that for the hunting sights, it goes in 2.5 yard increments. So it makes it real quick to index what yardage you're setting your mover to, because you're not trying to look at each little yardage mark and find out what 92 or 93 is. You can go to 92.5 and you can find that real quickly. So another little cool feature there. So we're down to 100. Got plenty of clearance under the scope housing with the arrow. Could probably get to 110 without any problems, but let's see what we can do at 100. Hit the target. Good height, just a little bit to the right. Height is what I'm mostly worried about. And let me tell you, like I said before, every little bit of movement in your sight picture at this distance makes a tremendous difference in the impact at 100 yards. So again, I'm pretty comfortable to 90. 100, still not there, but still working on it. That was a better shot. Felt better. Don't always mean better. That one's just a touch low. It is right in the heart shot area of the animal, so that's pretty good. Just below the 10 ring. Hundred yards. That shot felt good too. I think it's just a touch low as well. Looks like you hit right in the core line of the animal. So pretty dang good. Again, 3 shots, all of which would have put that animal on the ground at 100 yards. And that's all That's all we're asking for. I mean, yeah, I'd like to be shooting 4-inch groups at that distance, but you also gotta admit what's practical. And if you're making killing shots at 100 yards, you're doing everything you can. So that's good results from where I stand. All right, here we are, 100 yards. There's the 3 arrows. So this was the first arrow. You can see it's a little bit to the right, so it's a little far back. Still believe that would have mortally wounded that animal. We'd recover it with no problem. And then the second 2 shots, just a touch low of the 10 ring. I'm sorry about the terrible camera work. Touch low of the 10 ring, but as you can see, both of them would have been heart shots on that animal at 100 yards. And, you know, honestly, expecting these animals to react a little bit to the shot and to the arrow approaching them, as they hear the arrow coming at them, they're going to duck a little bit. So sighting in just a touch low is usually a wise move. So I'm going to take that as good at 100, and we'll back up to 110 and see if we can make anything happen there. 109.4, 109.7, 109.9. We'll call that close enough. Grab a bow. Target's getting smaller and smaller. So, it's starting to get a little later in the evening. I'm using the field archery target here at the club as the backstop in case I were to miss. And that target is hard to see at that distance. Oh, didn't move my sight. That would have definitely been a miss. 10 yards at that distance, it probably would have hit 20 feet in front of it. And that's no joke. Wonder if I can clear my housing with my vane. It should have plenty of clearance. That's probably going to be about the end there, about the limit of it. Hit it. That was a terrible shot. Felt like it broke low. And it just hit a little right. Hit about where that first shot hit on with the last one. And like I said, it was not a great shot. And at that distance, I'm lucky I even hit the animal. Mosquitoes are getting bad. I don't know if you can hear the arrow hitting, but it's a long way. Okay, that one's up in the core, just below the 10 ring. Good solid kill shot. 110 yards. Whew. It's hard to make a good shot. Keep that pin on that animal at that distance. That's the best shot of the group. Yep, that's just below the core, about where the last two were on the previous group. I think that broadhead is hitting a little bit lower than the other ones. I'm trying a couple different ones just to see what works. the best at these distances. Something else you got to test is, you can't expect every broadhead to have the same amount of drag and drop at those kind of distances. There's certain ones that will hit closer to your broadheads than others. So just play around with it and see what works best for you. Currently, I'm testing two different ones. One is the Swacker, and the main reason I chose the Swacker is that you can lock the blades on that broadhead and shoot it for practice over and over and over without dulling the blades, and you can shoot the same head that you're going to hunt with. And then the second one that I'm shooting is the B3 Meg 100, which at 100 yards was hitting right with the Swacker. They're hitting right together, all the way out to 100 yards. And on that shot, which felt really good, that one, it's hitting a couple inches lower than the Swacker. So just something else to keep in mind whenever you're testing and tuning your setup for these longer distances. And it's everything gets more critical the further and further away you get from the target. So just remember that. All right, here's the last group at 110 yards. So again, see if I can, first shot over here to the right, a little bit low and back on this animal. I still believe that's a lethal shot on that critter. And we got the second shot, which was right here, right in the old pump station. And the third shot with the Meg 100, straight below that, about 2.5 inches. Pretty low. I don't think that one would be a little risky. Hopefully would be a lethal shot, but that's why you test them. I feel pretty confident that at 110 yards, that broadhead's going to work really good for me. So I set out to do what I planned to tonight. Didn't take a lot of arrows. I shot about 5 arrows to warm up, just to check with field points that I was still hitting at 55 and 70 and 80. And then after I did that, switched over to broadheads. Shot 2 right in the middle at 80, backed up to 90, shot 3 at 100, shot 3 at 110, and I think we're good to go. So really confirmed that the sight tape that I've got for my marks from 70 to 110 are good. I've got my 5 pins set for anything shorter than that. And, we're ready to go to Colorado here in about 6 days. So looking forward to that hunt. Hopefully we can connect with a good animal and bring home some meat. So wish us luck. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Like and subscribe to the channel. And you guys, good luck this hunting season. Hey guys, so one other thing I forgot to mention, and that is altitude, elevation. So the difference between where I live and where I'm sighting in my bow for this trip is about an elevation above sea level, about 600 feet. Where we're hunting out in Colorado, we're in the eastern plains of Colorado, so we're not up in the mountains yet, but it's about 4,300 feet. So there's almost a 4,000 foot difference in elevation, and that can change your sight marks. So the first thing we're going to do when we get to Colorado is shoot our bows and double check, make sure our bows are hitting where they're supposed to, make whatever adjustments are necessary before we go hunting the animal. Now, I would expect it's drier air and it's thinner air, so the arrow should carry better in that environment than it does here. So if anything, the bow should hit higher. And I found that to be true during the last trip, that when I got out there at 70 yards, I was hitting about 4 inches high. So that's a real quick, easy adjustment when we get there, but we're going to double check our marks when we hit the ground, make sure the bows are still sighted in, and make whatever adjustments need be to adjust for that difference in altitude. So another tip for you, something us eastern deer hunters learn the hard way a lot of times when we travel out west, but certainly want to share that nugget of information with you.